Yes, thank you. Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to day 2 of TC3. Today is the day when we're going to hear from the carriers primarily. Yesterday we got snippets from them, and it might have been, we put them in very distinct roles, and they didn't get to really expand much on some of their innovation programs. But today we're going to hear larger stories, case studies of relationships that worked, where small companies worked with carriers, and specifically the case studies where they're both here on stage having a conversation with me. About 3 years ago, as I said yesterday in my introduction, a lot of startups were saying, yeah, but do these things ever work? So we introduced case studies in TC3. And the idea was that by having both the carrier and the startup representative that made the partnership sitting together on the stage, we could actually dive down and you could very, very much feel how real these partnerships can be, but also then ask questions of how they worked and what were the pitfalls they had as they worked through the partnerships, and how the eventual success and good results came about. So we'll have a lot of those this morning and through the day. In that, we're going to probably kick off each one of those cases with the carrier meeting that standard format of introducing themselves and specifying their innovation needs and the methods for connecting with them. On the agenda is that I'm going to kick it off with a look back at previous TC3 information and kind of compare that and contrast that to today. For me, it's pretty interesting to do that, because what you see is that year to year, the top innovation needs of the carriers don't change that much. The culture, the teams, the level of partnerships don't change that much year over year. But like so many things, if you take a look, slightly longer view and look a few years back, you say, wow, there are some distinct changes over this longer time period. And those come out as being pretty interesting. So one of the things I did, and the cool thing is you can all do this as well, is I went back and looked at all of the presentations that were made by the carriers in 2013 at TC3. So got enough of a time gap, 2 years back, that gave me the ability to see has anything changed in 2 years, and a few different things did come up. So first of all, I'm going to give you some advice on how you could do this if you're interested yourself. One of the things I said we do is we put the 2 specific slides from each carrier together into one deck. And we publish that deck. The first thing it does is it goes out to anybody who registered for TC3 as a part of the registration. So you get that consolidated slide deck. And then a couple of months later, we send it out publicly on slideshare.net. And the reason is, we obviously have, we want to give a distinct benefit to the people who came here and give that book to them first. But really, if we truly believe in helping the carrier community communicate and have a two-way conversation with the developer community, it's not enough just to say, okay, the people who came to TC3, we had about 600 registrations, will get this deck. I mean, that's hardly representative of the entrepreneurial community worldwide. It's barely representative of the entrepreneurial community in Silicon Valley. So we need to take these slides, put them together, and broadly distribute them to anyone in the world who wants to have access. So in a couple of months, that'll go out worldwide so that people can kind of build their 2016 plans on the firm foundation of what the carrier said that they would want over the next year. So those slides are available to anyone from previous years right now. So you could go to slideshare.net/telecom council and look at the slides from 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. You'll see some slight differences in format. We only published one slide in those years from each carrier, so it would be the innovation needs slide. So they're shorter, like 20 slide decks. So what I got from when I looked at 2013, some of the top topics 2013 were all the value-added services. That's pretty consistent with today. Carriers are looking for, give me something that's a VAS I can sell to my customers. But some things that are different, there was a lot of discussion around IPTV and quad play. So if you remember those terms being hot, quad play, I think largely for the carriers that were interested in quad play, the reason they're not talking about it this year is because it's been achieved for those specific carriers. They were looking for technologies to go in and compete on a television basis, and the ones who had the fiber and the infrastructure to do so are currently doing so. And in fact, the first case study we'll hear today is an example of a carrier, Bouygues Telecom in France, who launched into that quad play space. Femtocells were a big discussion. There was also M2M. So that discussion has kind of morphed and now is IoT. But a lot of carriers specifically using the acronym M2M in 2013. So you see that has in fact expanded and grown. And I think IoT is a very broad umbrella that catches a lot of different technologies in it. This year, you're seeing carriers specifically say, we see connected home, we see connected car, and a few other specific verticals where they want to focus. So to 2013, M2M was more we don't know, it's machine to machine, give us some ideas. Where today it's more concrete, companies like AT&T finding specific niches in smart home and things like that. Cloud was big, RCS was big, and X as AAS, so software as a service, and network as a service. Big data was big, and a lot of people wanted information on mobile commerce. Gaming came up a number of times a couple of years ago. Multiple carriers saying interested in digital gaming solutions. I don't know where that went or what happened with that one. It kind of faded off. And then, an interesting one to wrap up with is Verizon 2 years ago. We're up on the stage and they said, we're looking for solutions in the video space and solutions for video encoding, video compression, and video delivery over fixed, in particular, mobile networks. And so I thought that was particularly interesting because you guys probably know that they launched Go90 just last week, which is a mobile video service where they're trying to offer a bundle of content over the wireless phones. Now, I'm not saying, my personal opinion, I'm not going to state whether I think that's a great idea or a bad idea, but I do think it's relevant that 2 years ago, they were looking for those technologies, and at this point in time, they launched a product, big initiative on their part, based on those technologies they were seeking. So they were legitimate in then stating their needs, made real partnerships on that, and took that to market in a major initiative. So that's kind of a look back at 2 years ago. And then once again, key point is, I invite anyone to look at those old slides. If you're a startup in particular, it might be interesting to see the shape of kind of how they went. And once again, the way we aggregate them into that compact format, and these older ones are just about 20, 24 slides deep. You can flip through them really quickly. You go, okay, and kind of get the shift of where things are moving over time. So I invite you to go to slideshare.net/telecom council. You can easily Google it as well. So with that, those are my introductory comments. Usual things, lower the volume of your ringers. I think everybody knows at this point where the restrooms are and things like that. So I think we're ready to roll into our first session. As I kind of gave a hint as to where we're going, it's a carrier that is experimenting with broadening into the content game and quad play. So with that, I'd like to invite up Frédéric Girard from Bouygues Telecom and Xavier Branquet. Gentlemen. Ready?